inspiration right now. I got a great shot of inspiration for you, and it comes in the form of this book, Defining Moments of a Free Man from a Black Stream, and it's written by Dr. Frank Douglas. He's in our virtual green room, and he joins us now. Dr. Douglas, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for the invitation.
So, first of all, before we dive into your book, which there's a little bit of an autobiographical thing for sure here, of course, tell us about your story.
Well, I was born in Georgetown, Guyana, which was British Guiana at the time, and to very, very modest, you would say poor family. And about age 12, I actually converted to evangelism, which I think is what, in a way, changed my life, because at that time, I think I was headed in the wrong direction. And having accepted Christ as my Savior, then I became very involved in the church, and at the same time became really focused on my schoolwork. That led me to become actually a top student in Guyana, placing first in a couple of major national examinations, the result of which brought me to the attention of the U.S. And in 1963, I received a Fulbright Scholarship from the U.S. government as an undergraduate to attend Lehigh University, which is where I entered the U.S. in August of 1963, and did my bachelor's in chemistry and engineering school at Lehigh University. From there, went on to Cornell University, where I did a PhD in physical chemistry, also did a medical degree, then trained as an internist and neuroendocrinologist. Most of my life, however, I spent in the pharmaceutical industry, where I was either head of research or later, for many years, the global head of both research and development for large companies such as Aventis, which is now Sanofi. Retired in 2004 and went back to academia and was at MIT for 2 or 3 years.
Wow, what an interesting journey, and incredible, those ladders that you climbed from the Fulbright Scholar, which is such an honor, and then Lehigh and Cornell, and what you did in the pharmaceutical industry, and then ultimately working at MIT with the brilliant minds there. Take me back to the beginning. Was it easy to jump to America? What was that like to go from Guyana to jumping into the United States?
Well, it was a big shock for me. Of course, I was very excited. Didn't really know much about America, except, it was the land of opportunity, that there were brilliant people in America and very kind people. But I arrived about 2 weeks before Martin Luther King's March on Washington and was stunned to find the racial animus in America. And remember, 1963, Medgar Evers was assassinated. Later September, the 3 young girls in the church in Alabama, were killed. And then I began to face the reality that, the very evangelicals who had come to Guyana and convinced me that becoming an evangelical Christian, we all loved each other, we all would go to heaven, that suddenly I couldn't even attend their churches here in America. So that was really quite a shock for me.
How hard was it to deal with the racism that you face? And do you think it's gotten any better in this country or worse? Or where do you stand on that?
Well, it's fascinating. Initially, I had difficulty. One of the wonderful things, however, is that along my journey, and I mentioned that one of the reasons I wrote the book was also to celebrate, the many individuals who helped me along my journey here. So I had both the good times and the bad times, I must say. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you that as I look at what is happening now, I actually think it's worse than it was in 1963 when I arrived, because since 1963, there have been so many improvements, and then suddenly here we are with this hatred, and some of which is led by evangelicals, actually, or by individuals who claim to be evangelicals, that it is worse. It seems as though a hatred has been released in the country that I did not really see when I was here. There were evidences of individuals, but not this large spirit of hatred. And when I see cases of neighbors, attacking other neighbors because the kids are wearing masks, etc. There's a sudden meanness that I'm finding very difficult to actually to harmonize with the thought of America being an advanced country, the thought of America being a Christian country. All of those things, love thy neighbor as thyself, suffer little children to come unto me. All of those things that the evangelicals taught me, I see evangelicals now doing the very opposite. So I think it is worse than it was in 1963.
Yeah. And so as you see the road out of it, what do you think? You're a super educated man. What do you see the road out of this is, the way out?
Well, it is really simple and it's difficult. I think, one, having grown up in a developing country, I will tell you, we recognize cultism when we see it. And Americans have got to simply recognize that right now they are following a cult. And when people are following a cult, there's nothing rational about this. It has nothing to do with educational level. It happens to do with some basic need that is driving people to go into that cult. So that's one. The second thing is that responsible individuals need to speak up. If we have a situation where we're only hearing, one side of this and others are remaining silent, then they are part of the problem. As we say, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So I think more individuals have got to give the other side and speak to our better angels, than to allow, the worst angels to be running the day. And the third thing I will say, which is something that actually I find rather strange. Where are our psychologists and social workers and our ministers, the individuals who are trusted leaders? Where are they? They should be speaking up. They should be trying to explain to us, from a social, psychological perspective, what is happening in the country and get the dialogue going.
So well said. Dr. Frank Douglas, this book is fascinating, and there's so much that you talk about in the book. I mean, you talk about being involved in pharmaceutical research for drugs that treat tuberculosis and arthritis and diabetes and seizures and cancer and pulmonary embolism and so much more. Your story is really inspiring. What do you hope people take out of reading your book, Defining Moments of a Free Man from a Black's Dream?
Two things. One, as I said in the introduction, particularly for young black kids and brown kids, to not ever let anyone dissuade them from their dreams. That, you can dream, you can be judged, as Martin Luther King said, he hoped his kids would be judged. You can be judged by the content of your character, regardless of what is happening when people see your skin. So do not be dissuaded from pursuing your dreams. That's one. The second thing that I would like people to get from the book is that having a core set of values and sticking to those values and having grit, true grit to stick to your values, regardless of what the outcome might be, but sticking to your values that is very important in helping to deal with all of the situations that you might face. And I might add a third, which I mentioned earlier, because I want to say it again, is they are people of goodwill. Regardless of what is going on, you will find that they are people of goodwill. And when you find such individuals, embrace and let them embrace you and celebrate them.
Well, perfect place to end this. Again, I could not agree more with what you said. Hold those people close because they are so, so valuable. Dr. Frank Douglas, congratulations on all your accomplishments and what you're doing with your book. And again, you can get this book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever great books are sold. Thank you.
You're welcome.